All right. So hello world. I'm super excited to have for the month of November our featured entrepreneur, Dixie Lincoln-Nichols. And she is, in my opinion, at least, a serial entrepreneur because she has different levels to her business. She is the owner of Inside Outer Beauty Market, which sells clean beauty, and it is also an award-winning Black-owned beauty and wellness sustainable retail store. She is an educator. She's a podcaster. I think you're getting ready to launch your podcast soon. Yes. Yeah. She's a vlogger for health and wellness, menopause, and overall in general self-care lifestyle. And I think the podcast, just to go back, when I was looking through your bio, it's called, I believe, the Pause Pod, which will be launching in January 2023. Yes.
You got it. You got it.
Yay. So yes, so tell the world a little bit more about yourself and your business, please.
Oh boy, thank you so much for that introduction, Beth. I appreciate it. And yeah, I would say I am definitely a serial entrepreneur. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, so thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and I most certainly will do my best to bring together everything that I do really nicely. So like Beth said, my name is Dixie Lincoln-Nichols, and I am the founder of Inside Outer Beauty Market. We are a clean beauty, wellness, personal care, and sustainable care business. We opened in June of 2012. Actually, we started online in January of 2018, and then launched our brick and mortar in June of 2018. So we are omni-channel. We're both online and we have a storefront currently. Inside Outer Beauty Market is a product of my health and wellness journey. I was a teacher for 14 years prior to launching out on my own and starting my business. Basically, I had an eat, pray, love moment and launched into this self-care sabbatical because I needed it. I didn't really take care of myself the way that I was supposed to. Between 18, I was a teenage mother. So between 18 and 38, it was just all about pouring into everybody else, my children, my marriage, my immediate family, and giving them the tools that they needed to succeed in life and to be their best selves, at least to help them be their best selves and show up that way. And I wasn't giving myself that. And so I came to this realization slowly. It started to dawn on me that something was missing. And I sort of eased into the feeling, leaned into it, like, what was it? What's going on here with me? And I remember thinking back to an episode that I saw on Oprah. My daughter was probably about 6 months old at the time. And she had a guest on. Her name was Cheryl Richardson. And she asked Cheryl Richardson if she had to choose between herself and her children, who would she choose? And Cheryl said, I would choose myself. And the audience was like, oh, ooh, ah, oh no. And I remember sitting on the chair thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I just had a child too. And I'm like, is she out of her mind? Like, what does she mean she'll choose herself? But she gave an explanation and it made sense to me, but it wasn't what I learned in my life. So I sort of like archived that and it just sat there. And then something happened around 37 going into 38. I started to yearn for more for myself. I started to listen to that inner voice that was saying, something's missing. You need something. You need to pour more into you. What do you want? What are your needs? What are your goals? What are your loves? What are your desires? What do you want? You know, how do you want to live your purpose? All of these questions started popping up in my head. And like I said, I leaned in and started to really listen. And that's when I decided to take a leap of faith. And I remember my grandmother telling me, jump, God and life will catch you. And I was like, say no more. And so
sometimes it's like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I took the leap. Like I said, I took my Eat, Pray, Love moment and embarked on a self-care sabbatical resigned from my teaching position, and I started to really pour into myself, look into healing trauma in my life, you know, of all nature that I had been exposed to. And on that journey, I became a health and wellness coach. I also went abroad and studied at the School of Naturopathic Medicine in the UK. And while I was there, I remember doing some research and came across some alarming statistics where Black women were concerned in terms of beauty products.
Yes.
And yeah, right. And also found out that Black women were and still are the biggest spenders in beauty and health and wellness.
Yeah.
So they are being marketed the most harmful toxicants, and, you know, education was not something that people were doing in terms of what these ingredients can do, what are the potentials, right? The harmful potentials. And so I started looking into that and then comparing what the US allows in terms of what Europe allows. And oh my God, the difference is staggering in terms of ingredients that are banned and ones that are allowed. And so like the US is just free for all. And there is no, the governing body is so outdated. It doesn't really address those issues, and certainly not addressing the issues for Black women. So I started looking more into that. And because I love health and wellness so much, it's just been something I've loved all my life. It's my area of teaching and expertise. I decided to move into that space to share, to educate. And also, I just want to mention, prior to that, one of the other impetuses for my decision to go into clean beauty and health and wellness was because I had my own health journey, health scares and health concerns that I had to deal with, uterine fibroids, and also cystic acne that just like broke out in my face right around 40 years old. And I'm like, what is going on? What's happening? I was scheduled to have my fibroids removed through removing my uterus. And on the 2 days before the surgery, I had a doctor that said to me, a female doctor, I said, you know, I'm nervous. And she said, I don't know why women are so obsessed with their uterus. It's not like you're planning on having any more children. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And
A doctor said that to you.
a doctor said that to me, and it shook me to my core. And it wasn't the surgery. If she was nicer, I would have had that surgery.
Yeah.
But she said that, and I remember going downstairs. My husband was waiting for me, and I cried. I was like trembling. I said, "How could you say that? I'm about to remove a part of my body that I was born with, and I'm attached to. It gave me children, and here I am." She was so insensitive, and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to have the surgery. I'm going to figure this out myself." And so I went down this healing path that was on the naturopathic side, the holistic side. It was long term, but it worked for me. And so I started to look at ingredients that I was putting into my body, and via skincare, via food, and my whole lifestyle, incorporating spirituality into my lifestyle, restorative practices, etc. And so out of all of that, Inside Out of Beauty Market was born because I wanted people to know, especially Black women, who my focus was, and then other people of color and women especially, that beauty begins on the inside, and we have to address what's happening on the inside first and foremost, and that sort of radiates and diffuses to the outside. So it's not just about taking care of one side of the body, like outside, and forgetting what's happening on the inside, or vice versa. It's about simultaneously addressing both sides of your body in order to enjoy a healthy, or a somewhat as healthy as can be, lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I am sorry that doctor said that to you. That's just, and you're not the first person who's just told me stories where doctors say like, it's just the craziest thing. But I have a friend, and she also has been using natural, like changing her diet and everything to heal her fibroids. And it definitely works. It is a bit of a slower process, but it definitely works. And you said something that interested me. I know this is a business conversation, but
it's a part of the business journey, really.
So happy and excited when you said yes to chatting with me, because I love like the wellness aspect too. I'm like a huge clean beauty advocate. But you said something about trauma, and you were starting to look into that, and our bodies do hold trauma, and we traumatize our bodies. Sometimes it's not even like something psychological. The trauma could be literally what we're feeding our body or putting on our skin. Or in the case of a lot of women who have African roots, right? They like literally their ancestry from Africa, right? They may like be more apt to chemically relax their hair than say I would,
Right.
you
Right.
know? So
Right.
there's like all these chemical traumas, like all these like allergens and everything that we're traumatizing our bodies with.
Right. We're basically bombarding our bodies. And one of my mantras is sometimes less is more, and less toxicants, more health, right? The body, and there are pollutants everywhere in our homes, in the environment, in the foods that we eat, in the skincare products. So we cannot get away from them. But if we can do something to minimize how much we put on and in our bodies, I think we're just doing our body a service rather than a disservice. And so Inside Out of Beauty was created, and the products in Inside Out of Beauty market are created for that specific reason, as well as recognizing Black women and other women of color and the work that they do independently in the beauty space, and giving them a platform to share their work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love it. I love what you're doing. I think we need to talk about it more. So I was going to ask you where you drew your inspiration from. I feel like you've already shared that.
Oh, no, well, yeah, that's some of it,
Or
but
is there some more about your inspiration? Because you're definitely passionate. I've been following you for years on Instagram, and I've met you a couple, well, was it 1 or 2 times in person? Twice, I think. Yeah. And you're always like so passionate. So like, I mean, it's like naturally enthusiastic. Yeah.
I love that. And I have to say that I am naturally enthusiastic about it and passionate about it. So my inspiration really, truly goes way back to my childhood. I was born on the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and I grew up in a very small village with about 300 people. So very small village here. So when people talk about small towns, and here in the United States, I look at them and I laugh. I'm like, no, you're not from a small town. I'm from a small town.
Yes.
And so the lifestyle was very organic. My grandmother made do with whatever she had to make us healthy, keep us safe. And a lot of that came from what I love to refer to as our Garden of Eden. And so we had lots of fruit trees, lots of vegetables, lots of flowers, just so much around us, herbs, etc. And so we really took trips to the doctor. Anything that, like, if somebody had thrush, if somebody had a cold, if somebody had an allergic reaction, Granny would go out and she would start picking bushes, greater wood bush, Bloody Mary, this bush, all kinds of bushes she would just pick, and she would just mix them together, concoct them, and like, here you go. And we were fine. And so I remember at around 6.5, maybe 7 years old, around there, my grandmother brought me into the kitchen, and she was making coconut oil, because she would make a lot of stuff. She would make cocoa, like literally my grandfather would bring cocoa from his garden, and she would actually make the cocoa, like dry the cocoa, then ground the cocoa, and then all that stuff. So she was making coconut oil, and she called me in, and from very young, she taught us to do so much. And I went in and I started staying in the kitchen with her whenever she was making coconut oil. And so from 6.5, 7, I learned to make coconut oil, extract that coconut oil on the stovetop. So she would either extract it on the stovetop, or she would just extract it standing without any heat. So she did it both ways. Over the heat was easier, but that ability to create out of nature or harness nature for your own well-being stuck with me. And so that is where the true impetus is for my love for health and wellness, and for even branching off into a business, and for continuing my health and wellness practice. Always wanting to be in that space and to share with people. It came because my grandmother shared with me. She didn't stay in the kitchen and say, oh, I'm just going to do this. And, there is no place for you here. It was like, come, gather around, let me teach you. And so I always gathered around. I was always around. And that came back later on when I left my job and I started searching for my true love and passion. I kind of knew what it was, but I wanted to make sure. I wanted to take my time and ease into the space where I felt I belonged. And all of those lessons that she taught me, including coconut oil extraction, came flooding back to me. And it really helped create a pathway for me and this new life that I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've read this book. I am literally in the process of reading it. And what you're telling me is like, wait, I was just learning this morning.
Really?
Thanks to my audiobook.
Love
Audible.
it.
Have you heard of the book Curiosity?
I've heard of it, but I've not read it. So you
Yes.
make me want to read it now.
It's so good. And I'm also a former educator, although, we're still educating, right?
Yes,
In ways.
yes.
So they talk about the knowledge base, like how that is really like what we need. We need all this knowledge. And then we build from that. And so your grandmother had you guys all come in and gather around, and she taught you things. Like, that's the coolest. I would have no idea what to do and how to get oil out of a coconut. It's so cool that she taught you that. And then when you got to a different place in your life, you went back and you accessed that knowledge. And then you started asking questions about it. Like, how can I do this? Like, I'm guessing you probably even asked like a lot of why, and how. And
I really didn't have to ask why. And she showed me the how. And I didn't have to ask why because I knew why. It was out of necessity. It was because she had these resources around her and she didn't have the financial resources in order to give us all the things that we needed. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to make do with what I have in the best way that I know how. And it was beautiful because what she created was beautiful. It was good for our bodies, good for our health, and well-being for as long as it was. Yeah.
But you had that knowledge base. But you yourself, when you got older, you were saying you were like asking questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. As I got,
how to
as
make
I got older,
this work for you. Yes.
yes. Oh yes, 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 yes. Definitely, I had to ask myself, how can I take all of those lessons from way back then and incorporate it into my life now? How is it going to pan out? Is it going to pan out? But it wasn't difficult. I asked the questions and the answers came really quickly and just naturally. It was like, yeah, you just give it a try. You just follow your heart. What is your heart saying to you? What can you do? And I'm like, yeah, girl, you know how to use those hands because Granny taught you how to use your hands. And my daughter uses this term. She's a performing artist, but she says, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. And so I chuckle and laugh because I think it's so cool. And I'm like, I sometimes feel like I'm a multidisciplinary educator, right?
Yeah.
Right? I almost feel that way. So I understand why she uses it because she doesn't do just one thing. She does several things and she wants people to know I'm multidisciplinary. So when she said that, I was like, I like that term. So I started thinking of myself that way as well because I can do a few things well, even though I focus on the business more. There are other things that I incorporate into my wellness and education as well. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. And the podcast and blog are just really mediums to get that message out into the world. It's kind of the same message I'm sharing, a message of health and wellness, a message of passion and purpose through health and wellness. But I use the podcast and I use my blogs to do so because I'm learning how to write, right? I don't think of myself as a great writer. And so I'm like, I'm never one to not rise to a challenge. And so I decided, hey, blog, write as much as you can. And the more I write, the better I get at it.
Yeah.
So There's just so much going on within these little spaces, but it's necessary because they complement each other. You know, the blog complements the business, and then the podcast, of course, will complement all that I talk about regarding menopause and perimenopause. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about it when it comes out.
It's
So
interesting.
it's what?
I said it's very interesting.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
For those of us who are not really there yet, but yet don't want to be blindsided 10 years from now, it's going to be really helpful.
Right. It is. And, you know, absolutely. I talk about what I'm going through, my life as it is in the moment. And of course, things that have influenced my life from the past, right? Because the past leads right into our present. And a lot of times the past will usher us into our future, and now will usher us into our future as well. So the past was people didn't talk much about menopause and perimenopause, and it was just shrouded in secrecy and tabooed, and there's so much shame around it. And as I started going through, again, that was just another phase I was going through at the top of my self-care sabbatical. When I left, I started perimenopause at 38. So there were so many things that happened to me all at once. I came into so much awareness, and so much change started to happen all at once. So I just allowed myself to move into the space, and all of this just happened as a result of it. And as an educator, I couldn't miss the opportunity to educate others about menopause, about perimenopause, what it is, how it feels, what it looks like, how it functions in the workplace, what people need, etc. So that's a part of what I do now in my other work.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I am curious. I've had other people, like when I've done surveys in my business group, ask about tips for brick and mortars, because part of your business is you do have currently a brick and mortar, which I would love to visit. It's just like you're in a corner of Pennsylvania I just never go to. One of these days I'm going to visit it.
Find a reason to come to it now. Inside Out Beauty Market is there, so come on down.
Yeah. But how do you go about building like the beauty and wellness business? But like, even just from a brick and mortar, like going about opening one, because I know there's, people are like, well, how do I get money to open one? How would you like even shop around for one, like commercial leases and all of those things? Like, what are some tips you have?
Right. To be honest, as a Black woman in this space, I had to do and still have to do everything the non-traditional way, which is sad. When I started Inside Out Beauty Market, there were no other Black-owned, clean, or Black-owned beauty businesses in the space, in the landscape. There was one other business we started around the same time doing the same thing. And I was like, yes, we need to do this. No one was there handing us money and saying, here you go. I believe in this dream. I believed in my dream and the need for this to be here in this world. And so I had to take my own money. Everything was bootstrapped, right? My own savings. I had to make my own connections because I came out of education. And so that's where my peers were. I knew no one in business. I had never been in this space before. So I had to start from scratch, from the ground up, networking, getting to know people, putting myself out there, tapping into family members for their support and friends for their support, creating awareness around the brand. Everything had to be done grassroots, and it's still being done grassroots because it's incredibly difficult. So it was just because I go out into the world and I announce my presence, and, the universe responds. And so I said that I wanted to have a brick and mortar before I opened the online store. And so shortly after I opened the online store, I started looking up brick and mortars. And I happened to find a place that was doing a pop-up for 3 months. And I said, okay, good, let's start a pop-up for 3 months. And 3 months led to now 4 years and some months, right? Because I saw the possibility. I didn't want to just do 3 months and then say, okay, I give up. I was like, no, this is a chance. You have a chance now to root yourself here in this place and use it as your pulpit, for lack of a better word, and spread your gospel about clean beauty and about awareness in the Black beauty space and what's needed, and about health and wellness, and talk about it and usher in a new narrative around beauty and who has a stake and a place in beauty, right? And so you have to just do the work. For anyone who wants to have a brick and mortar, you have to do the work. It's not cheap. I have an affordable place, luckily, but it's not a cheap endeavor. It's an endeavor that takes money and that takes resources. So you're going to have to go out there and either fundraise. If you have the money sitting around, that's wonderful, but you have to crowd fund or look for traditional investors, angel investors, all of that stuff. You would have to definitely make a part of your plan. And so all of those things were parts of my plan. And everything did not work out and has not worked out the way that I envisioned, but things do work out. Some things do work out. And so we're just sticking with what works, and we're just learning from what doesn't work. And we're just here, just putting one foot in front of the other. It's exhausting. It's frustrating at times, but it's so rewarding to get to do work that supports people's well-being, that serves communities that are underserved, that amplifies the voices of indie beauty brands, and that amplifies wellness to Black people, Black people who are the biggest spenders, but the least catered to. Yeah, and so I get to be a part of that.
I think I may have this wrong, but I think I have it right. I recall one of your Instagram posts about your store having, like, it wasn't in terms of beauty, it was in terms of sanitary products. Was that true, that you also carried sanitary products, right? That
Personal care products. Personal
care products.
Yes, yes, we do. Yeah.
Because that's something that's also almost never talked about. Can be, depending on your choice product, literally inserted into your body, and it's made from horrible, horrifying things, and then everyone's wondering why they're sick.
Yeah.
So
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that like kind of made me think, oh, she's different in how she's going about it. So I can't go, I guess I don't want to name any, like, I can't go to a big famous retail makeup store and find those types of things that like really show care for like literally helping someone transform their life through their health and their lifestyle. Because even things like our sanitary, like as women, the products we use on a monthly basis, that's part of lifestyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I was like, she's cool. She's really cool. Like, as a business owner, no, you're definitely not doing things the traditional way, but you're finding things that would work and that are like absolutely critical for our health.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we have to lean toward non-traditional, because the new way is not for everybody. And I think this is what diversity also means. It means that some of us don't want products that are laden with toxicants in them because they're just not good for our bodies. Our bodies have allergic reactions, they have long-term repercussions, and we want something different. And so I'm catering to that group of people who want something different, who would rather something more natural, who would rather something that has more earthly components in them, because everything's been touched. I like to say that because I don't think there's anything that's fully natural, because somehow something has been processed along the way. But if we can find products that have been minimally touched, then that's good. It's better than the ones that are fully reconstructed and deconstructed and then given to us to put into our bodies, and they make a mess. I mean, you and I'm sure your audience also knows of the number of recalls that are happening with healthcare products, things that people are so dependent on every day. And so, yes, sometimes natural can be harmful. I know people say that to me all the time. Well, natural is harmful. Sometimes I'm allergic to this oil, I'm allergic to that oil. And I'm like, yes, that's why transparency is so important, right? That's why it's important for us to read ingredient labels. So if you know you are allergic to coconut oil or lavender oil, it's there on the label. You can read it and you can make a decision not to purchase that product because it's not good for you. And you know what it is, right? But there are so many synthetics that people don't know what they are. And some of them, I'm not going to bash them, because there are some synthetics that are safe, but there are some synthetics that are totally unsafe, that are being shoved into our products and that are being shoved into our homes. People are buying it. But if people become informed consumers, which is what we try to do, also inform our consumers and make sure that we're always transparent about our ingredients that we carry and the people who make them, then you can make an informed decision about what you're putting on and in your body for your well-being.
Yeah. I also liked how you shared it hasn't turned out exactly like you had planned, and that's okay.
And that's
You're
okay.
still going.
I'm still going. And that's
Don't
it.
give up,
That's one of
people.
the things I've learned. Yes, that it will never, I don't care what you're doing, I don't care what your business is, it will never go the way you planned. There will always be switches, and you always have to alter your course, and make changes and reinvent and restructure and all of that stuff. And that's okay. Do that if you have to. Just don't quit until you have to, because sometimes at some point in our lives we have to say enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. This is it. Yes, there are times when you have to do that, but if you still have it in you and you still have the fire and the passion and the desire to, then just keep doing it, because trust me, you are touching lives. And I know what keeps me going is my desire to do this, my love for it, and the people that I help and support, and the people that the business helps and support. It's all that makes it worth it, really. Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah.
what do you feel is the biggest factor in your success so far?
I think definitely my passion and my love for what I do, first and foremost, because if I didn't love it, I definitely would not be doing it. And also my desire to learn. Learning is so important. Listening, learning from my mistakes. I think I'm always learning. And when you move into a space that's brand new and you've never been there before, like business, you're switching from education to entrepreneurship. It is incredibly difficult, and it's complex, because there are so many things you're learning that you didn't know before. And so I had to just lay it all on the table. I don't know. And so while I'm building this business and growing this business, I'm learning. So I had to give myself lots of grace to make mistakes, to mess up, and to learn, grow. And I think that's been one of the best things that I have been able to do for myself, is admit when I don't know and learn. And also another thing too is to take my time. Really, like I'm not running a race, and I compete with no one, absolutely no one. I don't put myself into spaces that I know I'm not able to navigate on some level. I'm like, okay, that space is a goal for me, but I can't do it right now. So let me learn these things and then get into that space, or I'll tiptoe into the space and learn before I'm like, oh, here I am. I don't know. So I want to learn and I want to grow. So I take it easy. You just have to be patient. And I think patience is one of my strong suits. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Because it's almost the opposite of everything we're taught.
Yes. Yes.
And
Fast,
there
fast,
is
fast.
there is that urgency of like, do it today, but then there's also that burnout if you're always doing everything today.
Right, right. And I think there's a clear distinction between urgency and moving fast. They're very
Yeah.
different, right? Because I do feel there is an urgency within the health and wellness space when it comes to supporting Black people, Black um, independent artists, and other people of color. I think there is an urgency, it's needed, but there's also desperation, and I don't want to ever move out of desperation. And I don't, because I feel like desperation makes you move fast, too fast, and then you can drown. So
Yeah.
I feel like being patient yet urgent works better for me. And I think those two I've married together, and it's been best. And wherever that leads me is where it's going to lead me, because it certainly led me down this path, and I'm not unhappy with it.
That's good. I'm
Yeah.
so thrilled to hear that.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think maybe that kind of leads into what I did want to ask you, and what a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, even if you're not a business owner, I think a lot of people struggle with it, is time. Time to live your dreams, time to do yourself. And you kind of started with it at the beginning with the example. Now I'm blanking on her name, the woman who was being interviewed by Oprah, who was like, I put myself before my child. I
Yeah,
would choose
Cheryl
you
Richardson.
first.
Yeah,
Who?
yeah, Cheryl Richardson. Yeah.
Cheryl Richardson. Yes. So,
Yeah.
like, how do you build your self-care, your wellness routine into your lifestyle?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. First and foremost, ease, right, is so important to me. Slow, right? I know you've heard the saying, slow and easy wins the race. And
Mhm.
so I might be saying it wrong. I probably don't even have it right.
No, it sounds right. I've heard it before. Slow and easy. I think that is
Yeah,
right.
slow and easy wins the race, right? So I take my time. There was one of my favorite books is called Russian Woman Syndrome, by Dr. Libby Weaver. And it really is a syndrome that we have, rushing around all the time. And it has such an adverse effect on our health and our well-being, on our nervous system, on our thyroid health. I mean, the
Yeah.
implications are enormous when it comes to rushing around and what it does for us. So I always lead with that. Don't rush. And I'm not good at rushing because I get very flustered if I'm rushing around. Yeah. So I have to slow down. So self-care for me is taking it easy and giving myself all the things that I need to feel well. I don't always feel well. When you are a business owner, you will not always feel well. There are so many days when you feel unwell. But the trick is to have enough resources in your toolkit so that you can deal with those moments when you are not feeling well. And so I have, over the 10 years since I left my job in 2012, I have amassed a beautiful toolkit that I can pull from. And all because I have been incredibly patient with myself, because I'm like, listen, girl, you're doing in your 40s what most people do in their 20s and 30s, because I was a mother at 19 and everything was rush, 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 doing this. I had to have a house by 20 something, and I had to do this, all these things that I was focused on and wasn't focused on my well-being. So I was like, between 40 and 50, I am going to pour into myself. I'm going to fill my cup, and I am going to, whatever, you've heard this all over, the place. I'm going to, just pour into me and then serve with the overflow. And so that's what I do. And so I have lots of restorative practices that I turn to for my well-being and my self-care practice. So I do Qigong. I'm a Qigong instructor. So that is my grounding practice, my daily AM prayer before I do anything, before I touch my phone, before I get out of my bed, my prayer, and then Qigong that grounds and centers me and connects me to heaven and earth, so that I can feel good in those moments during the day when stuff starts going left, because it can start going left without notice, and it always does go left without notice. So taking care of me, and then of course also taking care of my family. People talk about self-care, and they talk about what they do for themselves, but what you do for others is also self-care, because it gives you a sense of satisfaction, and it gives you purpose, and just being able to help others, pouring back into people who don't have what you have and sharing with them. So I support my family. So that's a part of my self-care. My personal routines are for me so that I can function and be there for myself and then for them. So those are integral parts of my life that I cannot do without on a daily basis. Again, prayer and Qigong being the two main things that I turn to hold me up every day.
Yeah. So there's like that habit in the
Yes,
morning that you've already established to just start off with.
yes.
Start off on like a strong note. I love it. Thank you.
Rituals. These are my self-care
Yes,
rituals.
rituals.
Yeah. Yeah. So they don't feel like, they don't feel habitual. It just feels like I flow right into them. It's normal,
Mm,
something that I ease into. It's like opening my eyes. I get up and I open my eyes in the morning. It's natural. It's something that I do, just like I get out of the bed. So I've had my 10,000 hours of Qigong and of prayer. So they come, yeah, they are natural parts of
so
or extensions of who I am now. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Thank you. So what does the next level of success look like for you? I'm
Oh, I
curious.
love that question right now in this time and space continuum for me because a lot is changing. A lot is changing. My body is changing. My hair is graying, which I absolutely love. I don't have my hair out today. I have it like in a ponytail and whatnot, but I have lots of gray hair now, which I've fully accepted.
Great.
I'm in the menopausal stage of my life, so my body is biologically and anatomically changing as well. My mind is shifting because I'm a new empty nester. My youngest just went off to university. And honestly, I have never cried so much in my life. A song makes me cry. The dog whimpering makes me cry. Just going into her room makes me cry. And it's okay. I'm just like transitioning into this new way of living.
Mhm.
And so I'm rethinking a lot about my life in terms of what I want my life to look like. And I've had to remind myself that it's okay. It's okay to think about how I can reinvent myself and how I can be different, show up differently, and be okay with that and not beat myself up about it because I am different. My
Mhm.
daughter went away to school in the UK, and when I came back, I have to tell you, I just feel different. I feel almost like a different person, and I don't know who can identify with that out there, but there is this wave of difference that's washed over me. It almost feels divine, honestly. And so I'm learning how to accept that, and I'm learning what that even means for me and how that is going to materialize into my life and what it's going to manifest. But whatever it manifests, I am ready for it because I have prepared myself for a lot of this. It's just that it's here now and it's not quite what I expected. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm learning to go with the flow, not pushing and not pulling. I just want to just go with the flow. Yeah.
Like
So
like release, like open hand. So like you're open to what's to come
yes, surrender. I
instead of just like
okay.
trying to hold on and make it fit what you think empty nesters should
Exactly.
look like.
Exactly. My Qigong instructor said to me one day, and I always share this with people. He says, don't push and don't pull. He said, what you push will come back to you, and what you pull will leave you. So just exist in the flow.
Huh.
Don't push, don't pull, don't push, don't pull, right? And that's sort of like in a scientific way, I was like, opposing forces, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, right now I'm in that space of not pushing and pulling and just allowing and surrendering to my life as it is, and also enjoying it and feeling all of the feelings that I'm feeling. So the future right now for me, honestly, is unclear. And
Yeah.
I had to be okay. I came to that realization some time ago, a few weeks ago, and I was like, it's okay, Spoke to my
Mhm.
therapist, and she said to me, you do know that you have not, she said this to me a while back last year when I started this whole process. Oh, my kid is going away. My last kid is going away. We'll be empty nesters. And I started freaking out about it.
Mhm.
And she said, you do know that you have not been an independent adult since you were 18, right? And it dawned on me,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I've had these kids with me since I was 18 years old. My older daughter, she's been gone because they're 13 years apart. And now it's like just me, just us, me and my husband. So the future, I know, is going to be wonderful. I
Yeah.
know it's going to be abundant. I know it's going to be great. What that is going to entail exactly, I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of great plans. I'm working on launching the podcast in January. It's called the Pause Pod, and it's for people who are experiencing perimenopause and postmenopause and all that comes with that experience, which can begin as early as the mid 30s, right?
Oh,
Yeah. So I'll be talking a
yeah.
lot about that.
I
There's a
wonder
lot.
where I am in this space.
And if you understood what it involved, maybe you'd be able to pinpoint whether or not you may or may not, or be going through that, or if you're
Yeah,
going,
I
right?
have no idea. As a woman,
Exactly. That's
I'm
the
so
thing. A
curious.
lot of people have no idea. In your
Yeah,
40s, beginning 40s, you're definitely in that space, but things are happening and people don't usually pay attention. They're like, I felt weird. And now doctors are starting to talk about to their patients about it a lot more. So I'm hoping to really shed some light, use my own experiences, and share my own experiences, and also tap some experts for their perspective on menopause, and tap people who are going through the process as well. So that's going to be exciting. I'm also working on 2 products to launch it sometime in June of next year, summer, and it's going to address menopause health. So
okay.
look forward to that. We're like post formulation, and yeah, so it's exciting. And then of course there is Inside Out of Beauty Market that's there, just you know for our health and wellness peers and the people who want clean beauty, and for Black women and other women of color to have a space to call home. We're small, we're indie. Again, we're just still in the process of trying to make something bigger happen out of this small endeavor that I started. And we will just see what happens. Yeah.
I think so. I read an article where more like the beauty industry is in trouble because more Black women and women of color are not using relaxers in much they're going more natural and embracing their natural beauty. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely making waves and helping
Yeah.
people to move into healthier
Yeah.
lifestyle
We
choices.
have to, and we get to, because no one else is doing it for us. And, no one's coming, like they say, to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to do for
Yeah.
ourselves, because, I mean, the beauty industry is it's such a, it's wide, it's broad, and hair care is just one part of it.
Yeah.
Ingestibles, like what we put into our bodies, and supplements is another part of the beauty industry. Personal care items also falls under beauty,
Yeah.
because all of these things that affect your body, and we're not, is considered beauty. And we're not looking at beauty in terms of aesthetics. We're looking at beauty in terms of how you feel. What is it doing to me? What are these things doing for me when I put them on my body? What are these products doing for me when I ingest them? How are they making me feel? If it's making me feel vibrant and healthy and energetic, that's beautiful. If it's making my skin healthy and glowing, and it's moisturizing, and it's taking care of a problem, an issue, maybe dry skin or eczema or some ailment that might be affecting an individual, that's beautiful. So that's how we see beauty. And that's why we have the name Inside Out of Beauty. It's about what these products bring out of us, what they elicit from our body, both inside and out. And so we're more than just a place where people can come and purchase products. We really truly care about the products that you put on your skin, because I feel like we all deserve wellness. And for too long, Black women and other people of color have been ignored. But we're seeing change happening, and that's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But we hope that it's not just about profits, which a lot of times that's all it's about. It's profits over people. So a lot of big companies are conforming because they see like their market share being consumed by these small indie artisans, and they're like, oh, you can't have it, so we're gonna change and switch up so that we can keep that market share. So it's also up to the consumers to make the decision and decide who they're going to buy from and who they want to support. You want to support big companies that don't have your best interest at heart, then you can do that. Or do you want to support smaller indie businesses that created these products to address a need that you may be having, that your family members may be having, friends may be having, and we want to do it with the best products possible, in the best way possible, with as much love and compassion as possible. Yeah.
Because it might be shortcut by someone else, but someone who really cares and is, like, as you said, artisanal.
Yeah.
Like art. Really, making a facial oil, for example, is kind of an art. It's like a scientific art experiment, right? But there is care, there's attention, there's like another level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's well-being, it's health and wellness. Yeah. Our bodies go through a lot on a daily basis, a lot. The psychological stressors that we take on. Again, of course, the foods and products that we're using, the pollutants in the environment, in our homes and outside. And so we need products that address those things, but we also need to care. And I mean, there's so much that we can talk about, in terms
There
of.
is. There's
Yeah.
like the air that we use in our homes, air fresheners. I know we have to like wrap this up, but
Yes.
those, I don't want to name names again, but those things that you can buy at your local supermarket that you put in the corner of your house and you plug in are crazy toxic.
Yeah.
So toxic.
It's a lot. And I tell people, don't get overwhelmed, because
Don't get overwhelmed.
just start small.
Start with
Don't
one.
get overwhelmed, because I think that's where when people get turned off, start with one thing, right? One ingredient, like use up all the things that you have in your home. If you want to move into a more sustainable and clean lifestyle, start with a bamboo toothbrush as opposed to a plastic toothbrush. Start with maybe using ingredients, a product that has maybe 5 ingredients or 10 ingredients instead of 50, right? You figure out what that looks like for you. Get yourself acquainted with what clean beauty means, what sustainability means, what it looks like, and just take your time. Trust me, when you wrap your head around one thing, your mind around one thing, you want to move to the next and the next and the next. It's a trickle effect. Yeah. So pick where you want to start. It might be your kitchen. It might be your beauty closet, cabinet. Start there, wherever you feel you can make the biggest impact initially, and then spread your wings.
For me, it was like a good body butter. I was not trying to buy clean eyeshadow or mascara like until way down the line.
Right. Like, but are you there now?
My arms, my legs, that's like more like how much does like a swipe on my eyelash matter? But now I'm like everywhere. But it is a process. You start with one thing, like you said.
Start with one thing, yeah. And then you move your way up. That's it. Yeah. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work that's going on within the beauty space, within the wellness space. Black people are not going anywhere. And, there are a lot of us, people of color aren't going anywhere there, so we have to take care of our own interests. And, I love what I've done, and I love what all of the other businesses have done, like in the space, like all of these amazing Black businesses that are coming out and like, oh yeah, we're doing this. We're focusing on clean beauty in the Black space, or we're focusing on beauty in the Black space, period. Whatever you're doing, it's needed and it's necessary. And there is something there for all of us, whether you are into clean beauty or not. Find your Black beauty and wellness person or business and support them. Yeah. Support them. Yeah.
One last quick question before we wrap up, and then like also how people can connect with you. But what, in your opinion, is the secret sauce that you feel most entrepreneurs or many entrepreneurs miss?
The secret sauce that many entrepreneurs miss. Overcoming adversity, I would say.
Oh,
And yeah, overcoming adversity, because I think a lot of, and I can speak only from my own experiences. When things get tough, people give up. They
mm,
just feel like, I can't take it. It's just hard. And I know there is a time when you have to give up, but I think people really miss that you have to find a way to overcome adversity. And I've been taught, if you can go through the door, you can go over, you can go on the side, you can go under, just get in, right? So find a way to overcome your adversity. I feel like that's my secret sauce, like finding ways to overcome adversity, because I don't think that there is any one way, any
mhm.
one secret sauce. This is my secret sauce. Find a way to overcome adversity, and knowing that the adversities are always there. Every turn you make, there will be things that are going to hit you smack in the face, adversities that you're going to have to overcome. And so find ways to do that. Don't just give up when somebody shuts a door in your face. Like, okay, so that door was shut, but I don't have to go through the door. I can go around the back. I can climb through the
To the
window.
window.
I can go down in the basement. I can dig a I can dig a hole in the earth and go through, burrow through the earth, right? I'm gonna get in there, right? Or I don't even need that door. I'm gonna create my own door. How about that, right?
Yeah, build your own house.
And
Right.
right. Build my, oh yeah, right. So I think that's the secret sauce for me, overcoming adversities, because when you overcome these adversities, you can move on to something else, right? Because every mountain, at the peak of every mountain is the bottom of another one. And yeah. So overcome one. Once you get over one obstacle,
Okay.
just keep getting over them. Yeah.
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 One step at a time.
Yeah.
So, how can people connect with you, Dixie?
Yeah, so you can find me at Inside Outer Beauty Market.
Mm-hmm.
That's our website, insideouterbeautymarket.com. You can find us on Instagram at Inside Outer Beauty Market as well. We are also on Facebook at Inside Outer Beauty Market, and on, no, we're not on Twitter these days. We don't really, we're not, we've never been big Twitter users anyway.
Yeah.
So you find me on Instagram and Facebook, and also personally for my own personal work that I do. I'm also educational consultant and I do workshops, etc. DixieLincoln-Nichols.com, and you can find me on Instagram, Dixie Lincoln-Nichols. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I used to reach out to you through.
Yes. That's my personal page. And then there is the business page. So definitely check us out. Check out Inside Out of Beauty Market. Check out some of the
Yes.
products that we have. They're the best products that you can possibly ask for, made by small indie artisans that have their best interests at heart and their consumers' best interests at heart. Some of them are doing amazing things, and we have them on our shelves, and we want to share them with you to amplify and optimize your health and wellness.
Yes. So thank you. I loved this conversation. I do love anything about health, wellness. Yes. So
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was
fun.
great, wonderful. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. I appreciate it. I am always in the health and wellness state of mind.
Yes, I love it. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you again.